All right, so this is just 6.3 practice. I would say that these problems are like medium, easy kind of problems. So if you just want more practice with this, then this is definitely going to be for you. I'm not going to do all of these on the video. I'm going to kind of pick and choose which ones I want to do. But I have the key for this and it will be posted so you can see all of my answers. So I'm going to start with number 1, and then I'm just going to jump around. I think I'm going to do about 2 each page to give you 8 problems to do, and then I think that'll be good. So I give you solve each problem for 0 to 2 pi, use exact radian measures only. So we'll start it off. Sine of 4 theta is equal to root 2 over 2. So we have 4 rotations. Okay. We're going to probably have a lot of answers here, so we just be aware of that. 2, we're going to change our domain. Because we're doing 4 rotations, we're going to multiply our domain by 4. So 0, 4 theta, 8 pi. And then 3 is going to be solve. All right, so we do sine inverse of root 2 over 2 is equal to 4 theta. Now, all of these answers that we get here, all of these angle measures have to be between 0 and 8 pi. When we divide by 4, those answers will be between 0 and 2 pi. All right, so we're going to do 4 rotations, so there's going to be a lot. All right, so first rotation, sine is positive in the first and the second. It's a root 2 over 2, which means it's a pi over 4. So pi over 4 in the first, 3 pi over 4 in the second. So that's number 1. We add 2 pi to get our second rotation. So 2 pi is 8 pi over 4, if it's easier for you to like write that down so you can reference it. 8 pi over 4 plus 1 pi over 4 is 9 pi over 4. And 8 pi over 4 plus 3 pi over 4 is 11 pi over 4. All right, I'm going to run out of room here, but that's okay. So plus 8 pi over 4 for the third rotation. 9 plus 8 is going to be 17 pi over 4. 11 plus 8 is going to be 19 pi over 4. And then plus 8 pi over 4 for the fourth rotation. We're going to add 8 to this. 17 and 8 is going to be 25 pi over 4. And then 19 and 8 is going to be 27 pi over 4. All right, so we have 8 answers here. So all that we're going to do is we're going to divide our answers by 4 and to get our answers for theta. So all of these results are between 0 and 8 pi. We want our final answers between 0 and 2 pi. So we're just going to do this. Pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, we had 9 pi over 4, 11 pi over 4, 17 pi over 4, 19 pi over 4, we had 25 pi over 4, and then we had 27 pi over 4, and that's equal to 4 theta. We divide everything by 4. All right, pi over 4 divided by 4 is going to be pi over 16. 3 pi over 4 divided by 4 is going to be 3 pi over 16. All my denominators are going to be 16 unless I can reduce fractions. So this is what I should get. And I don't think any of these fractions reduce, so that's kind of nice. So 19 pi over 16, 25 pi over 16, and then 27 pi over 16 is equal to theta. All right. All 8 of those are our solutions. Looks good. All right. Then I'll do this one. So I have 0 is equal to negative 1 minus 2 cosine 2 theta. We want to get the trig function by itself. Okay, I want to get that cosine 2 theta by itself. So I'm going to add over the 1. So I'm going to get positive 1 is equal to negative 2 cosine 2 theta. And then I'm going to get negative 1/2 is equal to cosine 2 theta. So now I can go ahead with my 3 steps. 2 rotations. Change the domain. So that's going to look like 0, 2 theta, 4 pi. And solve. All right. So it'll look like cosine inverse of negative 1/2 is equal to 2 theta. Okay, cosine is negative in the second and in the third. It is 1/2 at all of your pi over 3's at your 60 degrees. So your pi over 3 in the second quadrant is 2 pi over 3. And your pi over 3 in the third quadrant is 4 pi over 3. So that's our first rotation. We get our second rotation by adding 2 pi. We're adding 6 pi over 3. All right? So our second rotation, 2 pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3 is 8 pi over 3. 4 pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3 is 10 pi over 3. Right. Last step, all four of these solutions are between 0 and 4 pi. Our last step is to make sure we get solutions between 0 and 2 pi. So step 4, well, I say step 4, we don't really label it step 4, but step 4 is really just to set these equal to whatever the multiple angle is and divide. So 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 8 pi over 3, and 10 pi over 3 is equal to 2 theta. I'm going to divide everything by 2. Now, we want to have these fractions reduced, so if you need a step here to write down, okay, 2 pi over 6, this would be 4 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, that's fine, but make sure you reduce these fractions. So this is pi over 3, this is 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3. These all equal theta.